They call me a monster. They say I stole her soul, that I cursed an innocent old woman who only wanted peace in her final years. But let me ask you this. What would you do if someone threatened to destroy the only home you and your children had known for 3 centuries? My name is Zahir and I am a Djinn of the water. For generations beyond human memory, my family has lived in the ancient well of the Sharma property in rural Karnataka, India. We've watched empires rise and fall, seen the land change hands dozens of times, and never once did we harm those who respected our domain, until Fatima Begum arrived. What I did to that elderly Muslim woman, what we all did, it haunts me still. But before you judge me, before you recite your prayers of protection and clutch your tasbih closer, listen to the whole story. Because what happened in that house wasn't evil triumphing over good. It was something far more complicated, far more human than you could ever imagine. The night I first appeared to her, standing at the edge of her bed with water dripping from my ancient robes, I saw the terror in her eyes. And in that moment, I knew one of us would have to leave. What I didn't know was that by the end, neither of us would be the same. Stay until the end, because this story will change everything you think you know about Djinn, about faith, and about the thin veil between our worlds. Before I continue with what happened, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel and leave a comment telling me which country you're watching from. Your engagement helps us share more stories like this. Now, let me take you back to how this all began. I am not young, even by Djinn standards. I have lived in that well since the time of the Mughal Empire, when this land was still covered in dense forest and tigers roamed freely. My wife, Noor, and I raised 7 children in the cool depths of that ancient water source. We became guardians, not invaders. We kept the water pure, the stones strong, the foundations stable. The humans who owned the land always knew we were there. Oh, they might not have seen us, but they felt our presence. They left offerings of rose water and sweet rice on full moon nights. They whispered prayers before drawing water. They taught their children, never throw stones into the well, never spit into it, never disrespect it. The guardians are watching, and we were. Always watching, always protecting. But then the property was sold, and sold again, and again. Each time the new owners cared less about the old ways. The offerings stopped. The prayers ceased. Young people would throw garbage into the well, laugh at their grandparents' superstitions. Still, we endured. We remained peaceful, because that is what we had promised the land, to be guardians, not destroyers. Then came the day that changed everything. The day Fatima Begum's son purchased the property for his mother's retirement. Fatima Begum was 73 years old when she first arrived at the property. I watched from the depths of the well as the car pulled up, as her son helped her out, as she stood there with her walking stick, surveying what would be her final home. She was a widow, a retired schoolteacher from Mumbai, who had spent 40 years teaching Islamic studies. Her husband had died 2 years prior, and her son, a successful architect named Rashid, thought the peaceful countryside would help her heal from grief. "Ami, look at this place," Rashid said, his arm sweeping across the overgrown garden. "I'm going to renovate everything. Modern plumbing, solar panels, a beautiful garden. This will be your paradise." Fatima smiled weakly, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. She was a woman who had lost her purpose. Teaching had been her life, and now, forced into retirement by age and failing health, she felt invisible, forgotten. "What about that?" she asked, pointing at the well with its ancient stone cover. "Oh, that old thing," Rashid laughed. "It's dangerous, Ami. The well is too deep. The stones are crumbling. I'm having it filled in next month. Then we'll build a fountain there instead. Something modern and safe." I felt my wife Noor grip my hand beneath the water. Our children, who had been playing in the depths, suddenly went silent. "Filled in?" Fatima repeated. "But it looks historic. Perhaps it should be preserved. Ami, you and your sentimental nature. It's just an old hole in the ground. Trust me, you'll love the fountain I have planned." That night, after Rashid left for Mumbai, promising to return with the construction crew, I held a council with my family. My eldest son, Kareem, wanted to scare them away immediately. My daughter, Layla, wept, asking where we would go if our home was destroyed. But I remembered the old laws, the laws that governed Djinn and humans. We could not harm without cause. We could not act in malice. "We will try to communicate first," I decided. "We will show her we are here. Perhaps she will understand. Perhaps she will help us." How naive I was. The first time I appeared to Fatima Begum, I tried to be gentle. It was 3 nights after her arrival. She was sitting in the garden at sunset, reading Quran, her voice soft and melodious as she recited Surah Ar-Rahman. I materialized slowly, letting the evening mist gather into my form near the well. I appeared as an old man, dressed in simple clothes, hoping not to frighten her. "Assalamu alaikum," I said softly. She looked up, startled, but not yet afraid. "Wa alaikum assalam. I didn't hear you approach. Are you from the village?" "I am a neighbor of sorts," I replied carefully. "I have lived on this property for a very long time. I wanted to welcome you." She smiled, closing her Quran. "How kind. Please sit. Would you like some chai? I just made some." "No, thank you. I came to speak with you about the well." Her expression changed slightly. "The well? My son is having it filled in. It's not safe. That well has stood for 300 years, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "It has never harmed anyone who respected it. It is important, sacred even. Please, ask your son to reconsider." Fatima frowned. "Are you one of those superstitious villagers? My son told me people here believe in old myths, but I am an educated woman. I taught Islamic studies for 40 years. I believe in Allah alone, not in superstitions about wells and spirits. Some things exist whether we believe in them or not," I said quietly. She stood up, and I saw the first flash of the iron will that had made her a formidable teacher. "Sir, I appreciate your concern, but this is my property now. The well is dangerous and serves no purpose. If you'll excuse me, I need to prepare for Maghrib prayer." She turned and walked toward the house. I watched her go, feeling the first stirrings of what would become our terrible conflict. That night, I let the water from the well overflow slightly, flooding the area around it. A warning, a message. But Fatima Begum only called a plumber the next morning. The signs started small, but they multiplied quickly. I was patient at first, still hoping she would understand without us having to escalate. Every morning, Fatima would find wet footprints leading from the well to her doorstep. She would clean them, muttering about careless villagers, but they would return the next day. Her water taps began to run on their own at night. She would wake to the sound of gushing water, find every faucet in the house turned on, water pooling on the floors. "The plumbing is faulty," she told Rashid over the phone. "Please send someone to fix it." 3 plumbers came, none could find any problem. The pipes were new, the connections perfect, yet the water continued its midnight rebellion. Then came the dreams. I didn't send these. They came from Noor, who was gentler than I, hoping that showing Fatima our world might make her sympathetic. Fatima began dreaming of the well in its glory days. She saw women in Mughal-era clothing drawing water, heard children laughing, saw offerings being placed on the stone rim, and in every dream she saw a family, my family, living in harmony with the humans above. But Fatima was stubborn. She had spent her life teaching that Islam had no room for superstition, that Djinn were mentioned in the Quran, but were not to be worshipped or feared beyond their place in Allah's creation. "These are just stress dreams," she told herself. Grief playing tricks on my mind. My children grew impatient. Layla, my youngest, started appearing as a little girl at the edge of Fatima's vision. Fatima would turn, see a child in old-fashioned clothes standing by the well, and blink, only to find no one there. "Am I going mad?" she whispered to herself one afternoon. "Is this what grief does? Makes you see things that aren't there?" She called Rashid again. "Beta, I think I need to see a doctor. I'm seeing things, hearing things." "Ami, it's just adjustment. The countryside is quiet. Your mind is creating stimulation. Give it time." But time was running out. Rashid had scheduled the construction crew to arrive in 2 weeks. They would fill in the well, destroy our home, scatter my family to the winds. I had to make her see, I had to make her understand. But how do you make a believer in absolute monotheism acknowledge the existence of beings she's been taught to dismiss? Fatima Begum was not a woman to accept confusion without seeking answers. On the 10th day, she did something I didn't expect. She started researching the property's history. She went to the village, spoke to the elders, visited the small library in the nearby town. What she discovered shook her rational worldview. The village elder, a Hindu man in his 80s, told her, "Begum Sahiba, that well is older than our oldest temple. My grandfather told me that the water Djinn have lived there since before the British came. They've never harmed anyone. We used to leave offerings, but the new generation doesn't believe." "Djinn?" Fatima scoffed. "Sir, with all respect, I believe in what the Quran teaches. Djinn exist, yes, but they don't live in wells like some folk tale. The old man smiled sadly. Belief and existence are not the same thing, Begum Sahiba. The Djinn are there whether you believe or not. And if you destroy their home— He shook his head. Please, just leave the well alone. Fatima found similar stories everywhere she asked. The librarian showed her old land records that mentioned the protected well, not to be disturbed. A local imam told her that the previous owners had always maintained the well out of respect, even when they stopped using it for water. But the moment that truly unsettled her came when she found a photograph in the town's historical archive. It was from 1923, showing the property during the British era. And there, standing beside the well in clear daylight, was a figure that made her blood run cold. It was me, Zahir, looking exactly as I had when I appeared to her that evening. The same face, the same clothes. In a photograph nearly a century old, Fatima's hands trembled as she held the faded image. Her rational mind screamed that it was impossible, coincidence, a look-alike. But her heart, the part of her that had spent 40 years reciting the Quran, the part that knew Surah al-Jinn by memory, that part knew the truth. That night, she sat in her garden with her Quran open to Surah al-Jinn. She read, "Say it has been revealed to me that a group of the Jinn listened and said, 'Indeed, we have heard an amazing Quran. It guides to the right course, and we have believed in it.'" For the first time since arriving, Fatima considered that perhaps her education had made her arrogant. Perhaps there were things that existed beyond textbooks and rational explanation. "If you're really there," she whispered into the darkness, "then show yourself, not tricks, not shadows. Show yourself properly and let us talk like civilized beings." I heard her. We all did, and so began the most important conversation of both our lives. I appeared to her that night in my true form. Not the gentle old man I had shown before, but as I truly was. A djinn of water, my form shifting between solid and liquid, my eyes reflecting depths no human could comprehend, my presence making the air around me heavy with moisture. Fatima sat in her chair, Quran clutched to her chest, and to her credit she did not scream, she did not run. She simply stared at me with those sharp, intelligent eyes that had once commanded classrooms full of rowdy students. "You're real," she whispered. "Allah have mercy, you're actually real." "I tried to tell you," I said, my voice like water flowing over stones. "I am Zahir, guardian of this well for 3 centuries. That is my wife, Noor." I gestured, and Noor materialized beside me, beautiful and terrible. "And these are our children." One by one, my 7 children appeared. Kareem, tall and fierce. Layla, small and curious. The others, ranging in age and temperament, all watching this elderly human woman with a mixture of fear and hope. "You have children," Fatima said softly, and something in her voice changed. "You're a family." "Yes," I replied. "We are not demons, Begum Sahiba. We are believers, like you. We recite the same Quran. We pray to the same Allah. We have lived here in peace, harming no one, asking only to be left alone." Fatima's eyes filled with tears. "And my son wants to destroy your home." "Yes." She was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing the Arabic script in her Quran. "In my arrogance I dismissed you as superstition. I who taught about Djinn for 40 years, who knew they were real because Allah mentions them, I still couldn't accept it when faced with the truth." "Many humans are the same," Noor said gently. "They believe in words but not in reality." "Why didn't you just scare us away?" Fatima asked. "You could have made our lives so miserable we would have fled." I sat down across from her, and for a moment we were just 2 tired beings both approaching the end of our influence in this world. "Because that would be wrong," I said. "The Quran teaches us the same as it teaches you: respect, mercy, justice. We could frighten you, yes. We could drive you mad, make you ill, make you fear this place so much you'd never return. But that would make us the monsters humans already believe us to be." Fatima nodded slowly. "So what do we do? My son has already paid for the construction crew. He's excited about this renovation. If I tell him about you, he'll think I've lost my mind." "Then we are at an impasse," I said, "because in 2 weeks your son will destroy our home, and we will be forced to defend it. And when Djinn are forced to defend themselves—" I let the sentence hang. Little Layla spoke up then, her voice small and frightened. "Please, Auntie, we don't want to hurt anyone. We just want our home." And that's when Fatima Begum did something that changed everything. She looked at my youngest daughter and saw not a monster, but a child, a frightened child facing homelessness. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "there is another way. The next 3 days were the hardest of Fatima's life. She had to make a choice that would define her final years: stand with us or stand with her son. Rashid called daily, excited about the renovation plans. "Ami, the contractor says we can have everything done in 3 months. The well will be gone by next week, and then we'll start on the foundation for the fountain. It's going to be beautiful." Each time Fatima would hesitate, the words of refusal dying on her tongue. How could she explain to her logical modern son that they couldn't fill in the well because a family of Djinn lived there? He would have her evaluated by a psychiatrist. He would think her grief had broken her mind. But every night I would appear and we would talk, not as enemies but as two beings trying to find a solution to an impossible problem. "Can't you just move?" Fatima asked on the second night. "Find another well? Another home?" Noor answered, her voice heavy with sadness. "We are bound to this place, Begum Sahiba. Our essence is tied to this water source. If it is destroyed, we don't simply move, we fade, we die, all of us." Fatima covered her mouth in horror. "Die? But Jinn are made of smokeless fire. The Quran says—" "The Quran speaks truth," I interrupted, "but there are many things about Jinn that humans don't understand. Yes, we are made of fire, but we can bind ourselves to water, to earth, to air. We become part of it. This well is not just our home, it is us now. Destroy it, and you destroy us." That night, Fatima didn't sleep. She paced her room, praying, crying, questioning everything she had believed about duty and family and right and wrong. The test came on the 4th day. Rashid arrived unexpectedly with the construction crew. "Surprise, Ami!" he called out cheerfully. "I managed to move up the schedule. We're starting today. By sunset, that dangerous old well will be history." Fatima stood on the porch, watching the workers unload equipment, and I watched her from the depths. This was it, the moment of choice. My children huddled close to me. Kareem was ready to act, to defend our home with force if necessary. But I held him back. "Wait," I whispered. "Let's see what she chooses." Fatima walked slowly toward her son. She was a small woman, made smaller by age, but in that moment she carried the weight of 2 worlds on her shoulders. "Rashid," she said quietly, "we need to talk. Stop the work." "Ami, what's wrong? I thought you'd be happy." "Stop the work!" Her voice, the one that had commanded classrooms for 40 years, rang out with such authority that everyone froze. And then Fatima Begum, retired Islamic studies teacher, rational woman of science and faith, did the unthinkable. She told her son the truth. "There are Jinn living in that well, Rashid. A family of them. They have been there for 300 years, and if you destroy it, you will kill them all." The silence that followed was absolute. The construction workers looked at each other. Rashid stared at his mother as if she had sprouted a second head. "Ami," he said carefully, in the tone one uses with someone who is very ill, "let's go inside. You need to rest. The heat—" "I am not confused, and I am not senile." Fatima's voice cracked. "I know how this sounds. I know what you're thinking. But I have seen them, Rashid. I have spoken with them. They are real. They are believers in Allah, and they are asking us for mercy." Rashid took his mother's arm gently. "Ami, grief can do strange things to the mind. After Abu died, you've been through so much." Fatima pulled away. "Don't you dare patronize me. I taught Surah al-Jinn for 40 years. I know what the Quran says about Jinn. They exist, Rashid, and they are here." "Then show me," Rashid challenged, his patience fraying. "If they're real, tell them to appear, right now." "Let me see them." Fatima turned toward the well, her eyes meeting mine across the distance between our worlds. I saw the plea in them, the desperation. This was the true test, not for her, but for me. I could appear. I could terrify Rashid, force him to believe, make him so afraid he would never dare touch the well. But that would be using fear as a weapon. That would be betraying everything I had told Fatima about mercy and justice. Or I could do nothing. Let Rashid think his mother was mad. Let them fill in the well. Let my family face extinction with dignity, rather than defend ourselves through terror. My children looked at me, waiting. Noor gripped my hand. The choice was mine. I thought of little Layla, who had never known any home but this well. I thought of my sons, who had protected this water source for generations. I thought of Noor, my wife of 2 centuries, who had chosen peace over power at every turn. And I thought of Fatima, who had sacrificed her relationship with her son to speak truth on our behalf. I rose from the well. I materialized in my full form, towering and terrible, water cascading from my body, my presence making the air itself feel heavy and charged. My family appeared beside me, 7 djinn of water standing together. The construction workers fled. Rashid stumbled backward, his face white as chalk, his rational worldview shattering in an instant. "Rashid, son of Fatima," I said, my voice resonating with power I had kept hidden for centuries. "Your mother speaks truth. We are the guardians of this well. We ask only to be left in peace. Is that too much for humans to grant?" Rashid couldn't speak. He simply stared, his mind trying to process the impossible made manifest. But then something unexpected happened. Little Layla, my youngest, stepped forward. She materialized as a small girl, no more threatening than any human child, and she walked right up to Rashid. "Uncle," she said in perfect Urdu, her voice small and frightened, "please don't destroy our home. We've never hurt anyone. We just want to stay with our family. Don't you understand what it's like to want to keep your family safe?" And in that moment, as Rashid looked down at this Djinn child who called him uncle, who spoke his language, who just wanted her family to stay together, I saw his fear transform into something else. Understanding. Rashid didn't speak for a full minute. He looked at Layla, at me, at his mother, at the well. His entire understanding of reality was being rewritten, and I could see the war playing out behind his eyes. Finally, he turned to Fatima. "Ami, you've been living here with them?" "Yes," Fatima said softly. "And they have been nothing but respectful, patient. They tried to warn us, Rashid. They tried to communicate, but we were too arrogant to listen." Rashid ran his hands through his hair, the gesture of a man trying to hold on to sanity. "This is insane. This is absolutely insane. I'm an architect. I deal with physics, with materials, with concrete reality. And you're telling me that Djinn, actual Djinn from the Quran, are living in our well?" "Yes," I said simply. "And we ask only what anyone would ask. Don't destroy our home. But I've already paid the contractors, bought materials, designed the entire renovation around that fountain." He stopped, hearing his own words, hearing how trivial they sounded compared to what we were asking. Noor spoke then, her voice like gentle rain. "We understand human concerns about money and plans. If it helps, we can ensure the well continues to provide fresh, pure water. We can keep the structure strong, beautiful even. The well doesn't have to be filled in. It can be restored, honored, turned into something that adds value to your mother's property, not detracts from it." Rashid looked at the ancient well with new eyes. "Restored. My husband is an architect too, in his way," Fatima said with a small smile. "He has maintained that well's structure for 3 centuries. Perhaps you two could work together." And that's how the most unusual collaboration in Karnataka's history began. Over the next month, Rashid and I worked side by side, human architect and Djinn guardian, redesigning the property. The well became the centerpiece, not the obstacle. Rashid built a beautiful stone pavilion around it, with a roof to protect it from debris and stairs leading down to the water level. I strengthened the ancient stones, kept the water crystal clear, added subtle touches that made the structure seem to glow in the moonlight. The rest of the property was renovated as planned, but now the garden flowed around the well, incorporating it rather than erasing it. Rashid installed benches where Fatima could sit and read. He added lighting that made the well look magical at night. News of the miraculous well restoration spread through the village. People who had forgotten the old ways began to remember. Offerings of flowers appeared on the well's rim again. Respectful prayers were whispered. But the greatest consequence was the change in Fatima herself. The woman who had arrived hollow with grief, feeling useless and forgotten, found new purpose. She began teaching again, not in a classroom but in her garden. Young people from the village would come to hear her stories about faith, about respect for the unseen world, about the balance between tradition and modernity. "I spent 40 years teaching about Djinn from books," she told her students one evening, as I listened from the well. "But I didn't truly understand them until I met them. The Quran tells us they exist, but we had stopped believing it in our hearts. We had made them into folklore, superstition. But they are real, they are believers, and they deserve the same respect we would want for ourselves." 5 years have passed since that day. Fatima Begum is 78 now, and her health is failing. But she is not the lost, purposeless woman who arrived here. She sits by the well every evening and we talk about faith, about life, about the nature of existence. My children have come to love her, especially Layla, who Fatima treats like the grandchild she never had. Rashid visits monthly, and each time he brings his own children. They play in the garden while he discusses property maintenance with me. His daughter Amina wants to be an architect like her father. His son, Hassan, is fascinated by history. Uncle Zahir, little Amina asked me last month, when you were young, did you always want to be a guardian? I had to laugh. Children, human or jinn, ask the most profound questions so innocently. No, little one, I told her. When I was young, I wanted to be free, to travel, to see the world. But then I found this place, and your grandmother, many times removed, gave us permission to stay, and I learned that home isn't a prison, it's a privilege. Fatima's health declined last winter. The doctors said she had perhaps a year left, maybe less. Rashid wanted to move her to a hospital in Mumbai, but she refused. I will die here, she said firmly, in the place where I finally learned what faith truly means. So we made a pact, Fatima and I. When her time comes, we will ensure she feels no fear. We will fill her final moments with the sound of flowing water, with peace, with the knowledge that she bridged two worlds. Last week, she called me to her bedside in the middle of the night. Zahir, she whispered, I need to tell you something. What we did here, you and I think this was why Allah sent me to this place. Not to retire, not to hide from grief, but to learn, to teach, to be a bridge. You have been more than a bridge, I told her. You have been a friend. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Promise me something. When I'm gone, watch over Rashid and his children. Help them remember that the world is bigger and more mysterious than we can imagine. Help them stay humble. I promise, I said. On my honor as a guardian, I promise. She closed her eyes, content. The well still stands, more beautiful than ever. The garden thrives. Young people still come to hear Fatima's teachings, and my family remains guardians as we have always been, but now with a human family who acknowledges us, respects us, loves us. What we did to Fatima Begum was indeed unthinkable, but not in the way the rumors suggest. We didn't curse her. We didn't steal her soul. We didn't drive her mad. We did something far more profound. We transformed her, and she transformed us in return. So what is the lesson here? What should you take away from the story of Zahir the Jinn and Fatima Begum the teacher? First, understand this. Respect costs nothing, but its absence costs everything. We Jinn asked only to be left alone, to keep our home. Fatima could have dismissed us, could have prioritized convenience over conscience, but she chose differently. She chose to listen, to believe, to act with mercy. Second, remember that faith isn't just about believing in what you've been taught. It's about having the courage to accept truth when it presents itself, even if that truth is frightening or inconvenient. Fatima had taught about jinn for 40 years, but until she met us, it was just theory. Real faith is tested when the theoretical becomes actual. Third, know that everything in Allah's creation deserves respect. We jinn are not demons to be feared or folklore to be dismissed. We are beings created by the same Allah who created you. We have families, homes, hopes, and fears. The Quran tells you we exist. Believe it not just with your mind, but with your heart. Before I leave you, I want you to do something. Look around your own life. What have you dismissed as superstition that might actually be real? What old wisdom have you ignored because it doesn't fit your modern worldview? What beings, human or otherwise, have you disrespected because you didn't think their homes, their lives, their existence mattered? The next time you're about to destroy something old to build something new, stop. Ask yourself, am I erasing history? Am I displacing someone's home? Is there a way to honor what was while still creating what could be? Subscribe to this channel if you want more stories that challenge how you see the world. Leave a comment telling me, have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? Something that made you question what's real? Fatima Begum died 3 months ago, peacefully in her sleep, with the sound of water from the well singing her to rest. Rashid and his family still visit. The well still stands, and I, Zahir, continue my watch, because I made a promise to a remarkable woman who taught me that monsters and guardians are separated only by the choice to show mercy. Remember, in this world and the next, we are all just trying to protect what we love. The question is whether we do it with fear and violence, or with respect and understanding. Choose wisely, because everything is watching, everything remembers. And sometimes the one you think is the monster is actually just a father trying to protect his children's home. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you all.